So this is for the Citizen Chain project. So this is the bulk of your grade will be on color grading this. So the editing is takes a back seat because we've done the editing that's very similar to this. So I would say this is a 30-70 project. So 30% on the editing and then 70% grade on the actual color grading. Okay. So let's take a look at the videos. Okay. One thing you'll notice is that they don't look that great. Okay. So these are shot in flat mode. All right. So there's a setting on the camera where you can shoot in log mode or in Rec 709. Okay. Rec 709 is your typical standard footage on your DSLR. Let's say you shot on green, on that green square on the settings. All the coloring and all that stuff. There's sharpness applied. There's contrast applied. There's saturation applied. So it looks good, right? And the other one is you shoot it in log mode or in what you plan to color this later mode. Okay? So they have this kind of flat look to them. You can see on this one, and it's they have a lot of detail, low contrast, so on and so forth. So they're basically shot in a way to look ugly so that you can then color them yourself later. Okay, why is that important? Well, because if you rely on just the standard coloring of the camera, then the camera is your color artist. Okay, all your footage would look the same. Millions of videos would look the same because you didn't bother to give it its own styling. Okay, all movies are treated in what you call digital intermediate. That coloring will be applied, or grading or styling will be applied. All right, so it's quite common to shoot this way. If you see footage that looks like this, don't be alarmed. Okay, however, with editors, they don't sit well with this footage because when you're editing and everything is flat and kind of boring looking, you can't get quite the emotional impact that you're looking for. So what they do when they edit is they use LUTs, L-U-T, or lookup table. Those are kind of predefined coloring that will not be used for the final color. It's just so that the color comes back. So while you're editing, you see the color, and then you'll know how to kind of react to the mood or the drama of the footage. Okay. Then after that, all that stuff will be changed. So lookup tables. It says here to know LUT. If I right-click one of these, and then I could apply LUTs to a specific look. Okay, Fujifilm, Kodak, or particular camera log itself. Okay, so this is how you know you got a good video recording device when it has a log option when you're capturing. Okay, so Sony would have their own S-Log. Canon would have, well, Canon, I don't know if they have. I haven't really kept up with Canon. They usually Lumix will have their own Vlog. Panasonic Lumix. That's probably one of the better camera for video. For photo, they can do both. It's just that if you're leaning towards video, there's a lot of capability on the Lumix. With Nikon, I don't know what Nikon's been doing lately. They're too late in the game with the video. I mean, they're actually one of the first ones to incorporate video on their DSLR. It's just that they never actually put any professional thought to it. They just kind of record. You can't control any of the manual controls. Anyway, all right, so if I right click here, just to kind of give it a LUT, I'm gonna go with film look, let's say. All right. Oh, there you go. So do you see it? So it's already stopped. I mean, this is just so that you can see something and kind of react to the mood, drama of the footage. But this is probably not going to be the styling that you're going to go for. All right, but it does have those particular look. And this are film, I'm gonna undo that one. All right, and those are simulated film look. All right, so whenever you shoot with your camera, they go with the simulation mode, because especially if your camera can shoot raw, your JPEG has a simulation put on top, right? So that's why when you shoot raw and then you look at the back of the camera, you don't see the raw footage, of course. You see a JPEG thumbnail. All right, so that's why when you load your photos into photo editing, they kind of change. It changes a lot from the preview. You actually catch it kind of changing. First, it shows you the JPEG preview, and then it switches to generic flat look like this, right? And then it's up to you to kind of put all that stuff. If you use Fuji, I mean, it actually uses the, since Fuji makes film, you could actually see the simulation like Provia, Astia, the different kind of look, right? So those are, and they all kind of use for their really poppy saturated photo are positive film or slide film. Okay, so they're not negative, they're positive film, and those are the really punchy, high contrast, high saturated film look. So that's why when you take a photo of a JPEG, it looks good. Okay, because it has like a positive film look to it, so what they're applying to. All right, so let's take a look at our footage here. We have what you call a multicam clip, and I prepared this one so that I mark it in over here.
So each bike is slightly different. The setup of the bikes are always interesting to me because some people are so set in their ways and they believe that they have it correct, and so they like their seat.
All right, so Vinny's dabbing right there. All right, watch that one. I'm gonna go to another camera shot right here. Okay, and then I mark it right there.
Believe that they have it correct, and so they like their seat.
There you go. So this is a multicam shot. So it is sync. You don't have to sync it as long as you slate it correctly, or if you know what you're like, you know what you're doing, you can sync this to. It's a multicam, meaning they shot it this way and shot it that way at the same time. So if you sync those two together, then you can just cut into them and they can go kind of back and forth. We don't have to do any of that fancy stuff, right? So what we want from you is just one JL cut. So this is also kind of like the rubric, right? We need a one JL cut of the talking head, okay? And then use basically a long L cut at the end, showcasing all the video footage, okay? So what is a J cut again?
When you place footage over a talking head?
Correct, yes.
Like,
so you hear audio, you hear the voiceover, then you see the talking head. What is an L cut? It's the opposite of that. You see the talking head disappears, but the voiceover carries on. Hence, and then why is it J and L? Well, we did that with the last video. It's just the formation of how you put the video on top. You know, it's not, it doesn't really look like a J. It's more like a reverse L because it doesn't have that hook, you know. But that's what they call them because that's what it looks like, okay? So you're going to have to pick the JL here, and then you can use and cut. You're allowed to trim the talking head, okay? Because you're going to have to trim out or remove any information that he talks about as voiceover that we don't have the footage of. Does that make sense? If he's talking about airplanes or spaceships and we don't have any airplanes and spaceships here, you got to get rid of that. Only what's pertaining to the video footage that you have, all right? I know this is very limiting and it's not very traditional because you are given limited video footage. It's not the case. Imagine if this is really the production footage that we got from the original production. We're probably going to have videos here more than 10 times the amount. Agree? They're going to have multiple takes, so much video. Then you have that option. Here, it's for learning purpose. It's really truncated. It's already logged in a way. Only the good stuff kind of made it. Does that make sense? All right, so JL cut. So what else do we need? If there's a talking head, what do we need? Yes, so you need a title. Lower left or lower right, up to you. Because he's not entirely centered, but he's in a weird kind of, okay? Because they're supposed to get it like, This one right here, there's a dolly. All right? Dolly footage are best cut with a moving footage preceding it or after it. You don't really start a moving shot by itself. It usually starts with a static shot that moves, then you cut again to a moving shot. Does that make sense? There's always preparation with a dolly shot or a moving shot. It doesn't just start as moving. If it starts just as moving, then there's a reason for it. It is part of the storytelling. They want you to experience something disconnected. Okay? So again, all these rules we're talking about, you don't really break the rules, you bend the rules on a lot of these things. But when it comes to something like this, what kind of genre do you think this is? This project? Yep, documentary. There's your talking head. Okay. It's more like, Citizen Chain is a company right there. It's a bicycle company. Okay, so they're basically talking about the bike culture, the cycling culture, and what people prefer on their bikes and whatnot. Okay, so one JL cut to show the talking head, and then the rest is voiceover. All right, you're gonna need a title, lower left or lower right. That's just kind of given. You need fades for your footage because there's no natural fade on this. Does that make sense? We need fades and whatnot. Okay, and we have to edit the music. Let's listen to the music real quick. What kind of instrument is that? All right, the weird 5 string halfway through the fret. All right, almost 30 seconds in. Right there, 28. You notice how it's the same? Kind of, it's just like background. Still the same. All right, so now we're getting some kick drum or side tom. I don't know what that is. All right, and it actually ended at the 1:30 mark, including the fades. Okay, so guess what? How long do you think your project is? Yeah, the entire length of the song. All right, the entire length of the song. So you're editing on that one. All right, let's take a look at the footage. We've seen the talking head. All right, let's take a look at this. It says parking. They're actually named. Okay.
Grab the water bottle.
All right. So you better be mindful of using audio from this video because you'll hear the director saying, grab the water bottle. So when you drag your footage, make sure you don't drag any of the audio for your B-rolls. Okay, so these are all B-rolls. Okay, let's take a look at some. All right, especially who doesn't love audio recording when there's no dead cat on the mic?
Action!
It's just, it reeks pure of, I mean, it's fine if you don't plan to use the audio, but you've seen so many YouTube videos. They even apologize. They know what they're recording, but they won't do something about it.
Yeah.
Because they do apologize for it anyway. All right, so those are some nice B-rolls of him kind of taking that S-curve right there. This is more like continuing from the parking, all right, sunset. Let's take a look at this one, more curves on the road right here. Okay. All right. There's that. So this is the city. All right. Now we're outside, outdoor. So, okay, you probably notice some pattern here that he got out of the city and going into the road outside, so on and so forth. And what's interesting here is that there's screen direction to consider. All right, you see, there is a screen direction. So notice that one. Comes from the right frame of the screen. This one a little bit more neutral. All right. So neutral are always good to break that left and right position because you can start. This is definitely one direction. Okay, except when he turns back. And if you want to use that, totally up to you. All right, so there's plenty of footage there to play with. Okay, so if you really study this footage, let me give away the spoiler here. There's progression of time here. Okay, what is the first giveaway that time have passed here?
Lighting.
Yeah, lighting, sunset. That's the end, folks. Okay, you start your video with a sunset because it looks good, and then you go back to daylight, you're in trouble. All right, so we know screen direction, follow that guide, and then the other one is time of day. All right, that is your B-roll. Okay, he's not going to talk about anything very specific that that you can put those B-roll, but however, you're going to have to trim this talking head. Only show him when you want to show him, do your JL cut, and then after that, it's just voiceover. Can you cut? Of course, you can trim this. Be careful when you trim voiceover. Make sure there are no audio pop. Those hisses, beginning of a word, abrupt cut. So you have to make sure that, and if they're well coached, they do deliver whatever they need to deliver in such a way that you can tag them, that they're self-contained in a way. Okay, you don't want to record a talking head that's overly excited and then just not say anything and then just you want them to be. You need to give the editorial a chance, so you coach them a bit. I mean, this is a documentary, but you tell them if they got too excited on some, you would do. Can we just kind of say that? Repeat what you just said and make it a little bit more calm. All right, so that's our logging, and that's the rubric for your project.